Hello everyone, I'm Chef Acedo at Central Arizona College. Welcome to Italian Cuisine. Today we will be exploring several easy step-by-step recipes that you can create at home using the simplest and freshest of ingredients. Today we will be starting off with simple marinara sauce, chicken parmesan, and a simple caprese salad, and a surprise dessert. First of all, let's talk about the mise en place. To make our simple marinara, we'll need fresh tomatoes, mirepoix, which of course everybody knows is carrots, celery, and onion, canned tomato product, and to thicken our sauce, we always use tomato paste. An infusion of a rich imported red wine will enhance the flavors, as well as fresh nice, beautiful olive oil. Let's start the pan with a little bit of olive oil. Turn that on to high. I took some beautiful things from my personal garden, so we'll be using some of our tomatoes, our celery. Look at that, fresh celery from the garden. Fresh basil, and an assortment of other vegetables for our vegetable medley. While we're waiting for this to get hot, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. I've been at Central Arizona College for about 5 years. I teach Italian and French cuisine. It's unfortunate that we have to do this per video. At some point we'll get back to class and we'll be able to have the usual setup that we normally have. All right, to make our simple marinara, I have some olive oil in my Dutch oven pot. I'm going to add our mirepoix. I want our vegetables to be slightly translucent. Although this sauce is going to probably simmer for a good hour, hour and a half. So it reduces and all those wonderful flavors meld. Now I will add about 2 pounds of tomatoes. Chef Acedo, there's no recipe. This is the kind of sauce that you can make with whatever's lying around the house. I happen to have 2 pounds of tomatoes, so I threw them in. I want to put a generous helping of salt, a little bit of pepper, fresh ground, fresh basil from the garden. It's all going to get blended together, so there's no need to cut everything in small pieces. It's all going to liquefy and meld together. Of course, a generous helping of freshly minced garlic. I'll let that mix. Okay, now I'm going to add a medium can of tomatoes and sauce, tomatoes and liquid, rather. And this is the base of our marinara. I'll let this simmer for a while. Towards the end, to thicken, I will add my tomato paste. Fabricating the chicken for chicken parmesan is the first thing you need to do. After I've rinsed my chicken breasts, I'm going to check out each breast and make sure there's not too much fat. Remove the fat, trim it up a little bit, and then I'm going to carefully, with the palm of my hand, carefully split it in two. The next step is to place it into a plastic bag, which I have already done here, and pound the chicken so that it's slightly thinner than it originally was using a mallet. There we have a perfect chicken paillard. After which, I will remove from the bag, see how thin that is? And then using our standard breading procedure, I have my egg mixture, which is just eggs and a little bit of water. Standard breading procedure is flour, shake off any excess, dip into the egg, and then into the pre-seasoned breadcrumbs. Do a little tap. I bought a pre-seasoned product. You can use panko. You can add your own salt, pepper, Italian seasoning, maybe some black pepper. After which, the chicken breast will be ready to pan fry, and then we'll finish it off in the oven. Simmering away, let's take this opportunity to add a little bit more basil from the garden. I'm going to start thickening now by adding about 8 ounces of tomato paste. If you want it to be thicker, add more. If you want it to be thinner, add less. I like to use a nice Cabernet Sauvignon. Good enough to drink, good enough to eat. We'll be having that later with our dinner. And I like to put a little bit of Italian seasoning. I think we're going to need a little bit more garlic. And we'll be ready to put it on a very low simmer and just let it break down and turn into this wonderful, delicious, full-bodied marinara. Okay, now that our oil has gotten hot, I'm going to start placing the chicken paillards that have been breaded, and we're only going to brown. We're not going to cook all the way through because we're going to put it into the oven on a papered sheet pan so it can finish. By doing this, you can delay when the chicken will be complete. My oil is pretty hot, so it's actually happening quite quickly. I just want to brown the breading. And then we can add to the oven. I have the oven set at 350. I'm going to put it towards the center. And then we can go on to making our garlic toast. Garlic toast, simple, simple, simple. I have some room temperature butter. I have freshly minced garlic. And I like to put fresh parsley from the garden to make a simple compound butter. I'm also going to add a little bit of Italian seasoning. Okay. Simple compound butter. Now we're ready to spread. I have my pre-sliced bread. You can use a variety of breads. French baguette, Italian loaf. You could even use some of the more expensive and readily available artisan loaves. For this particular application, I'm just using a regular plain loaf of bread. After spreading, I'm going to arrange them on my sheet pan using parchment paper. I really like parchment paper. It helps with the cleanup. Notice how generous my application of butter is. A little more Italian seasoning. Who doesn't like a little bit of Italian seasoning, right? tomato, and into the oven it goes. I'm going to use the top shelf. I'm going to set the timer because this won't take very long at all. I'm going to set it for 5 minutes. When the timer goes off, it'll come out, and I'm going to leave my chicken in there for at least another 10 minutes. Let's check our sauce while we have it here. Simmering nicely. We've been cooking this for about 40 minutes. What are we going to do with this lumpy sauce when it's done? We're going to have to process it through the blender. I'm noticing that it's a little bit on the thin side. Now's the opportunity to thicken it with a little bit more tomato paste. Let's do the trick. Layering your flavors is so important. So I'll take this opportunity to add a little bit of parsley. The next time I check this, we're actually going to taste it, even though we've got a ways to go. Looks wonderful. I think we need a little bit more time. Of course, if I was to temp it with the thermometer, that's really the best way to go. So I have a couple more minutes for the toast. I'm going to add a little bit more time. I'm going to add 2 more minutes for the toast. Check our sauce. Sauce is looking great. See, now it's the thickness that I really like. Just keep it on that low simmer. And I'm going to start prepping the vegetables. While prepping the vegetables, I'm going to turn my double boiler onto high with a lot of salt so I can prepare my packaged pasta. Next week we'll be making fresh pasta. Right now I'm just going to use a packaged product. Japanese eggplant from the garden. I like to leave the peeling on. Precise measuring cuts are really not necessary with this application. I do like to make mine in nice, neat dices, but it's not completely necessary because it's going to cook so far down that nobody's going to be able to tell. So I have Japanese eggplant. I was able to get a couple of squash. Let me just put that lid back on. A couple of yellow squash. I think one's good. That should be plenty. And I'm going to season this with, oh, you know what? I have a couple of carrots too. Let's put some of that in there. Since these are really hard, I'm going to cut them a little bit smaller. There's our garlic toast. Let's just check that. I'm also going to add a little bit of garlic and then saute with olive oil. That should be plenty. Turn on the heat. Medium sounds fine. Let's check our toast. Soft garlic toast. I think I'm going to leave it in like 3 more minutes. So I had some asparagus. I'm going to throw in those tips. And I like to use a little bit of the stem, not too close to the end because it's very woody. I have some beautiful bell peppers from the garden. That's probably good for this application. I like to take out the ribs. And I'm just going to do a small dice. Throw that in. Since everything is cut about the same size except the carrots, it should all work out well and be done at the same time. Time to check our toast. It's been in for a total of about 8 minutes. So depending on your particular oven, it's kind of a soft toast. There we have it. And let's check our sauce while we're here. Simmering nicely. It's been on for a total of about an hour and 15 minutes. Probably ready to blend. Let's take this opportunity to taste. It's delicious. It needs salt. A little bit more salt, a little bit more pepper. The alcohol has had a chance to evaporate, so all we're left with is the delicious Merlot flavor. I'm going to turn this off. And I'm going to push it to the side. We're going to let it cool down just a tad, and then I'll be ready to blend. Now that our sauce is ready, I can carefully ladle into the blender. Don't overfill the blender. If you do, it could splatter, you could get hurt. So that's about halfway. That's plenty. You can always blend more. Put your lid on, and I like to use a towel over it because of heat and leakage. Ready. Very hot. And when I get done doing all the sauce, then we can do our finished seasoning and start cooking our pasta and our veg. We have a little bit of sauteed veg we're going to do with some olive oil in the pan. Remember the diced vegetables from the garden? I'm also going to put a little bit of red onion in there. I didn't grow red onions this year, so I actually had to buy these from the store. I also have some chopped garlic. While we're waiting for our pan to get hot, my water's boiling, so I can add my penne pasta. I have a generous amount of water compared to the amount of noodles I put in. It's always a good idea to do that. We'll let that come to a boil. I think my pan's hot. I'm going to go ahead and add my vegetable. This is probably more vegetable than I can fit in this pan. That's plenty right there. Have my salt and pepper ready at hand. A little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and of course my garlic. I think I'm going to add a little parsley as well. I like parsley in a lot of stuff. Saute. I certainly don't want to overcook. Hopefully these will be done at the same time. Then I can assemble our dish. Veg is just about done. Let's check our noodles. They're also ready. So I'm going to drain into the colander into the sink. And we can assemble our actual plate. Okay, our chicken is ready. Time to assemble our plate. Delicious chicken. I neglected to mention that there's grated Parmesan cheese in my breading, thus Parmesan chicken. A little bit of sauce, Drizzle over the top. Garnish with a piece of fresh mozzarella. The heat from the sauce should help to melt all that. A little bit of veg. It's nice if everything can be done at the same time. During class, it doesn't always work out like that, but we're open. Dinner for two. Fresh mozzarella. A little bit of fresh basil from the garden to garnish. A little bit of veg. And our pasta. Pasta can be drizzled with a little bit of olive oil, salt and pepper, or if you want, you could use more of the marinara. Continuing our Italian cuisine week 1, our finishing item today is tiramisu. So, to start our tiramisu, we place ladyfingers, which I purchased already made. If you're up to it, you can bake your own, but I just buy the ones at the store. These are a little bit on the stale side, which is fine, because we're going to soak the ladyfingers with a little bit of very strong coffee. Make sure you get everything well coated. I'm choosing to use a wine glass for this application. Any sort of a nice dessert dish will do. Let them soak for a bit to absorb. Then we'll continue by placing whipping cream into the KitchenAid, which I've already done. Whipping is faster is better. I'm going to add a little bit of powdered sugar. Since it is a dessert, I'm going by the philosophy of sweeter is better. Once the whipped cream gets to stiff peaks, add your whipped cream cheese, or if you'd like to splurge, mascarpone cheese. Mascarpone cheese is Italian. It's very luxurious. It's also very expensive. So to be more economical, we're using whipped cream cheese mixed together. Stiff peaks. And we're done. If you choose to, you could add a hint of vanilla. Now I'm going to fill a pastry bag. The correct way to fill a pastry bag is as such. I have a star tip at the end. Filling my pastry bag with my sweet whipped cream mixed together with cream cheese, or if you can afford it, mascarpone cheese, plus if you can find it. Whole Foods, places like that will keep it, have it. There we go. Okay, put this on top of the ladyfingers, which have been soaked in coffee. Strong, sweet coffee. Chef Acedo, there's no recipe for this. You don't need a recipe for this. Everything we've done today is all about technique. Simple, easy technique. Alchemy. Alchemy is cooking. Chemistry is baking. We're not baking anything today. I just happen to have a little bit of mascarpone cheese added to in there as well. Now I'm going to drizzle on a little bit of ganache. Ganache is boiling boiling cream on the stove with added morsels of chocolate, and it makes this thick, luxurious sauce. I just happen to have a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and add this additional element to my already over-the-top dessert. Who doesn't like a little bit of ganache, right? You could also use melted chocolate. Of course, if there's no cream in it, the melted chocolate is going to settle up and get hard. See how pretty that looks in our glass? Now I'm going to put an additional layer of the mascarpone cream cheese mixture. Try to make it a nice presentation. You could put a little bit of cocoa powder on top. I'm choosing to use a little bit of milk chocolate. And I'm just going to put some chocolate shavings on top for a further element of this spectacular and very simple to make dessert. An easy way to make chocolate shavings is with your vegetable peeler. The colder your chocolate, the better this will work. There you are. Garlic toast has been kept warm. A little bit of garlic toast. The same wine that we cooked with. And here's to you, may you live 100 years, or Cindano. Now let's taste. Delicious, really good. The perfect finish to an Italian meal. This is Chef Acedo from Central Arizona College, Italian Cuisine.